Let's jump right in. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Principle 2 of the SkiSaver System. Ski like a local.
Okay, so I want you to picture this for a second. Imagine you're lucky enough to live, say, 20 minutes down the road from a legendary mountain. We're talking Jackson Hole, maybe Alta, right? If you live that close, would you honestly feel the absolute need to pack up all your bags, load the car, drive 3 miles, and then check into some massive, expensive ski-in, ski-out hotel right on the slopes every single weekend just to go skiing? I mean, no way. It sounds completely absurd when you actually say it out loud. You just wake up in your own bed, hop in the car, and go. But, for some reason, when we plan a destination ski vacation, we tend to throw this basic everyday logic right out the window.
And honestly, that brings us to one of the most expensive lies in all of ski travel. It's what we call the hassle myth. We've been sold this pervasive idea, kind of marketed to death really, that if you aren't staying right on the mountain, like if you can't literally click into your bindings at the front door of your condo, then your trip is just going to be this miserable, unbearable hassle. We're told that if you don't wake up and seamlessly glide onto the gondola, your entire vacation is effectively ruined. It is so easy to fall for this trap. And because of it, destination skiers are just constantly overpaying to avoid what is in reality a very short, super manageable morning commute.
Now, what's really interesting about this distinction is how we have to separate the actual experience we're traveling for. We're constantly comparing the mountain, the amazing terrain, that fresh snow, the actual physical act of skiing, against the village, the walkable upscale restaurants, the luxury boutiques, and the slopeside hot tubs. And hey, don't get me wrong here, ski-in/ski out is fantastic. It's incredibly convenient and a lot of fun. But we gotta realize that when we book slopeside, we aren't just buying the skiing anymore. We are buying the luxury fantasy of the village.
So this requires a really massive mindset shift. The mountain is the product. The terrain is the product. The skiing is the product. The village? The village is completely optional. So the absolutely crucial point here is that when you start treating an optional luxury, like staying slopeside, as this strict, unbendable necessity, well, that's exactly how your vacation budget gets completely crushed. The village definitely has value, absolutely, but you have to actively choose whether it's genuinely worth that extreme premium to you.
To really let this sink in, we need to ask ourselves a pretty simple question. How do locals actually ski? Think about the folks who live near these world-class resorts and are logging, 50, maybe 60 days on the mountain every single year? They've figured out a brilliant little secret. Actual locals are not paying resort village premiums every weekend just to access the exact same terrain that you're flying in to ski. They figured out a long time ago that you don't need to cosplay as a luxury resort guest to have an amazing day on the mountain.
Let's move along and see how this builds, because the reality of how locals actually ski is wonderfully straightforward. It's literally just a simple, everyday routine. Ready? 1. Drive to the mountain. 2. Park the car. 3. Put on your boots. 4. Walk to the lift. 5. Ski. I mean, that's it. That is the entire secret. Destination skiers can copy this exact same model with zero friction. You don't need a heated cobblestone walkway to the gondola. You really just need a clean place to sleep, a hot cup of coffee, and a reliable way to get to the mountain in the morning.
We really need to dismantle this weird ski culture mindset that's popped up over the years. Somehow, people have convinced themselves that sitting on the icy bumper of a rental SUV, doing that awkward one-legged hop while forcing your foot into a stiff, freezing cold ski boot in a parking lot is some sort of vacation disaster. Guys, it is not a failure. It's just skiing. It's literally what tons of passionate skiers do every single day of the season. You pop the trunk, grab your gear, walk to the lift, and boom. Congratulations, you are now on the mountain skiing the exact same snow as the people who paid triple what you did.
So what does it look like to actually plan a trip this way? If we aren't staying in the village, what exactly are we looking for? Well, here are the 4 foundational pillars for a perfect, realistic SkiSaver lodging destination. First, a reasonable drive to the mountain. We aren't talking a 2-hour white-knuckle drive through a blizzard, but a realistic, easy commute. Second, normal lodging prices that aren't artificially jacked up just because you can see a chairlift from the window. Third, practical food options. Think about the absolute joy of a normal grocery store, a regular local coffee shop, or just a standard pizza place. And fourth, realistic morning logistics. This means you actually have a rock-solid plan for where you're going to park or catch a quick local shuttle. This brings up a vital distinction we absolutely have to make. We're comparing cheap lodging to smart SkiSaver lodging. And I want to be super clear here. We are not telling you to go book some random, cheap, sketchy motel an hour away and just blindly hope for the best. Cheap lodging with awful roads, terrible traffic, and no parking plan? Yeah, that will absolutely make you miserable. What we want is smart lodging. Actually, scratch that. It's more like strategic lodging. Places that are highly affordable but come with a reliable, stress-free, ironclad plan for getting you to the mountain.
And adopting this local mindset, it completely opens up the map, literally no matter where you're traveling. In Utah, this means staying down in the Salt Lake Valley, grabbing a normal breakfast and just cruising up the canyon, instead of paying an absolute fortune up at the resort itself. In Colorado, it's looking just beyond those famously expensive base areas to towns that still have tons of local charm. Over in Europe, it's finding these beautiful, quiet satellite towns that link into the massive networks via a local gondola, rather than staying right in the center of the most famous tourist trap village. And in Vermont, it's grabbing a cozy rental in a nearby town to dodge that peak resort pricing entirely. You're getting the exact same skiing, just starting from a slightly different spot.
Once you realize these perfectly viable, highly functional options exist right down the road from the lifts, you've got to ask yourself the absolute hardest question of the entire trip planning process. Is the village actually worth the extra cost? Like, honestly calculate it. When you strip away the romantic idea of it all, is the convenience of walking out your door directly to the lift genuinely worth paying a massive premium?
So the crucial point really comes down to this number. $1,500. And that is not an exaggeration. If you save just $300 a night by staying outside the village, and very often, honestly, you're going to save way more than that, over a standard 5-night trip, that multiplies incredibly fast into $1,500 in pure savings. That is cold, hard cash left in your pocket just because you are willing to drive 20 minutes and put your boots on in a parking lot in the morning.
The financial gap between the resort village model and the local town model is just absolutely staggering. For families, or groups of friends trying to make an annual tradition work, the gap between these two options is quite literally the difference between being able to afford a ski trip this year and sitting on the couch at home because it's quote-unquote too expensive. It is the single biggest lever you can pull to make skiing affordable again.
Just think about what you could do with that difference. These massive savings shouldn't just disappear into thin air, right? They're a direct investment back into the sport. With that money, you could literally book an entire second ski trip later in the season. You could pay for more days on the mountain, turning a quick weekend into a proper full ski week. You could upgrade your flights to skip that brutal layover, rent a much better all-wheel drive vehicle for peace of mind, or just put that cash towards your broader, important financial goals. You're basically trading a slight morning convenience for massive financial flexibility and the ability to ski way more often.
Which brings into focus what the real problem is in the modern ski industry. The real enemy here is the wrong vacation model. When people complain that skiing is a sport only for the ultra-rich now, they usually aren't priced out of the actual act of skiing itself. They're priced out of a very specific luxury version of skiing. That's slopeside, eat at a fancy restaurant every night, full-price window ticket version. But that is definitely not the only way to experience these legendary mountains. You have options.
And that brings us to our ultimate SkiSaver rule. Do not assume staying outside the village ruins the trip. Please don't let the ski industry's marketing or even the skepticism of your own friends convince you that a 20-minute drive is a deal breaker. It's simply not true. You are there for the mountain, you're there for the snow, and you're there for the turns. Everything else, it's just background noise. If you're ready to break the mold and actually implement this new mindset, we've done the heavy lifting for you. You can find exactly these types of smart, highly affordable stays, complete with the morning logistics and parking plans you need, over at SkiSaverGuide.com. We've mapped out the local towns that get you legendary mountain access without that punishing luxury price tag.
Now, as much as we've saved today by completely overhauling our lodging mindset, we aren't done yet. Next up in our Explainer series, we're going to tackle another massive budget killer, the hidden cost of food. Because, believe it or not, vacation food spending can completely derail your budget just as quickly as a slopeside hotel if you aren't paying close attention. You definitely won't want to miss that one. But for now, I want to leave you with this final thought. When you finally stop paying for the village, you unlock the mountain. With thousands of dollars saved by simply choosing to ski like a local, where will you take your next legendary trip? The entire map is open to you now. Start dreaming, start planning, and I'll see you in the next Explainer.